Hey, my name's Aaron with Scalability, and this is Freedom Fridays, where we go live every week with strategy, systems, customer journey, actually figuring out how to make the software work for you in your business in the real world so you can have success with it. I believe God created for 6 days and then he set everything on autopilot so he could spend the rest of eternity in relationship with us. I like to look at things and say, if he did it that way, how can we leverage technology so that we can advance God's kingdom by multiplying what he's given us and still have time to spend in relationship with him and other people making disciples and make disciples. So we decided instead of just selling software and saying, good luck, I hope it works for you, that we would create as many ways as possible to help you win with it. That way, if we can help you multiply what God's given you and you're giving back to the kingdom, and we're giving back to the kingdom through the business, then we will be multiplying and actually multiplying our giving and everything. So Freedom Fridays is all about system strategy. How do we make this work in the real world for you? And I always jump straight into live Q&A for subscribers. So if you are an active subscriber of Scalability, you'll get an email every week to join these calls live on Zoom so you can get your questions answered. We can work through strategy and systems with you in your business. That way you can jump in and actually have success with everything as quick as humanly possible. So as always, I'm going to jump straight into that. I have a couple people waiting in the back. So we'll let them in and we'll jump straight into some live Q&A. As soon as you guys get in here where you can hear me, we're live on YouTube already. So let's go ahead and catch me up. Jill, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for being here again.
Yeah, I haven't seen you for a few weeks. I hope everything's going well.
Yeah. Yes, it's slow, but it's incremental.
Yeah.
It's not as fast as I'd like. But yeah, my wins are I have been accepted onto a much bigger fish players
Yeah.
platform. So I'm part of that community now. And so there's this community called Digital Parenting.
Okay.
So
Cool.
I'm able to now see all her members and all the things that are going on and many resources, and that's really helpful. So it's just walking a fine line between stealing and I wouldn't do that, but inspiring, being
Yep.
inspired.
Modeling.
Yeah.
Well, tell everybody what you're doing. Since we're live on YouTube and as active subscribers, I like people to know what you do too, because you never
Yeah.
know. There might be somebody here that thinks what you're doing is awesome and they want to be a part of it. So like give us this is who I am and what I do.
Yeah. So I'm a game script writer and a digital discipler, and I help to navigate parents who are very nervous about the exposure their children are having within the internet, the metaverse, smartphones, all of that, and just help them to navigate and find their greater parental security, which is their GPS within that environment. I've called my community support the digital trespassers because I think parents often feel they are trespassing on their children's horizons, and that's obviously not acceptable when parents are responsible for their children's character formation and spiritual life. So I want it to be for Christians or people who are open to a Christian worldview and understand the value of that in forming people's characters. So yeah, that's my service is there through the community, and my landing page is makefunoffaith.com/join. And thank you, Aaron, for all the help I've had in setting that up.
Nice, very nice. So how you've got some big wins, made it into new communities, things like that. Where's the struggle or the next thing you're working on? How can I serve you?
I think I write this down every week. I'm very good at planning. I'm not so good at executing. So one of the things I've been needing to improve is to make sure that I go into the scalability platform and use it where I would remind myself of my tasks, and I would use it as the portal for all my own admin. Because I don't think I'm making the most of it as I would like to. Um, I know I'm an old school person. I still have a lot of paper in my bag when I'm around. I feel secure having my lists, but I'm not translating that properly into action. So I need to work on making that a habit every day in the system, doing a few minutes. And you've said it before, but I think about it. I look at my list, I tick off things, but I'm not in there doing it.
Have
Yeah.
you set any kind of like alarms or anything like that, or
Um,
reminders and things?
I've mainly been using the Google Calendar to populate that as my main reference place because I realized, I think you suggested that was probably the best place because the scalability calendar isn't as accessible to me through the day.
Mhm.
Um, Certainly not on a phone. So that's where I would get my notifications on my phone from the Google Calendar, which is fine, but not every single detail is on there. So that
Mhm.
might be a bit more work on my part. But one win has been getting one mass email out, which is only one, but I thought about it. I could carefully wrote it. I made sure my call to action was in there. And I'd say it went to 66% of the list, which I don't know how that rates as a typical, um, what's the word, delivery rate.
Mhm.
I think I've got some cleaning up to do on my list. And then about 9 people out of 280 or 90 people, about 9 people actually clicked. So I've got some work to do.
Well, hey, the open rates and things on emails is typically pretty low, but it does work. And
Yeah,
it's a consistency and an overtime thing.
yeah,
I think somebody said 5 to 10% was pretty good on an email open rate, not like a click-through rate, but even just an
yeah,
open rate.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't do a lot of like email marketing things, so I don't know the actual numbers around it. That's just kind of
Mm,
hearsay. But I
mm,
do know like the biggest win on all of it is always just going to be consistency.
yeah,
So creating that one email a week that goes out consistently
mm,
every Wednesday. And
yeah.
so for a lot of people, like, I used to do this. I used to go like, man, like writing an email every week and blah, blah,
Mm,
blah. And I really thought about it. I was like, it's like 30 minutes to an hour if I overthink it to
mm,
sit down on one Wednesday every week and just
yeah,
write an email and then send it to everybody on the list, even without trying to build all sorts of automations and things. So but what I was going to say with the alarms too, like if you have um, the Google Calendar is great. That's how I manage the whole day. I literally run off of just what's on there and it'll pop up little notifications. Hey, this is coming, that kind of thing. When I was in the beginning of all of that process, I would support the actions on the calendar that were um, valuable and important. I would support those with alarms on my phone.
okay.
So in the beginning, I had a tendency to put everything on my calendar, but then I would still miss stuff or a notification would pop up and I'd just be like, bloop, or
Yeah.
I'd swipe it off or something like that and I'd miss it because I wasn't really honoring the times. And
Mm,
so you can kind of support those habits where like, if I'm supposed to quit at 5 o'clock, I may have it blocked to quit at 5 o'clock on my Google Calendar, but I still have an alarm that goes off on my phone that says it's 5 o'clock. And when I look at my phone, like,
mm,
because you'll always go, what's this random alarm at 5
mm,
p.m.?
mm.
And on the iPhone anyway, you can label the alarms. So when I
Yeah.
look at the alarm, it says quit working, go do something with the girls.
Oh, right.
And so I would support pieces of my Google Calendar with an alarm on my phone. And
Right.
I used to have one, and I used to have like 5 or 6 alarms that would go off during the day because it was basically a reminder to go back and check the calendar. This is an
Yeah.
important thing.
That's
Here's an
the thing.
alarm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd see the alarm because you have to turn off the alarm. A notification on the Google Calendar kind of pops up and then goes away. But an
Mm,
alarm on your phone, it's annoying. You have to stop, go address it, turn it off, and typically look at it. And when you look at it, it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something right now.
yeah.
And so the alarms really help. You'll end up with a lot of alarms in the beginning, and then you just kind of back them off as you start to get the habits. But
Right.
even right now, I still have one that goes off at 5 p.m. because I have a tendency to want to work on past it. I like what I do and I
Mm,
like helping people. And so I have a tendency to go past that. So
mm,
5 p.m. is still a good stopping point for me where I'm like, I have an alarm go off. It's like, stop working, go do something with the girls.
mm.
And so those are a good way to help kind of cement
Yeah.
at least the recognizing the stuff that you need to do. I got to a point where I was slacking off because we all do, right? We ride this roller coaster of I'm super motivated, things are going great. And then we get on the Noah train where we've been building an ark for the last 3 years and we're like, I'm getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And so we have a tendency to start self-sabotaging, not doing the work, things like that. So I put an alarm on my phone that at like 11 or 12 o'clock, like around midday, that just says, I forget what it said. It said something about come out of your resting state. Um, like it's time to drive or something. It was like
Yeah.
this motivational, like it reminded me that
Yeah.
I'm probably slacking off by now
Mm,
and I've probably settled in. It was just a reminder, like wake up, get after it, because there's things that need to be done.
mm,
So like
mm.
those alarms can be very beneficial when you're working on that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mm.
Anything else I can do for you before I holler at Kelly? I see Kelly's in here too, hanging out.
Just to say that you probably know we have some of us here have commitments as well to Kingdom Warriors, but that's gone a bit quiet this summer, which I'm taking the opportunity to um take advantage of a bit of extra time
Hmm.
um and focus on really where I want that to go. And I'm always hearing your voice in the back of my head as well, thinking, yeah, keep your priorities where you need to be. This is what got me here, but what's going to get me where I need to go is doing this work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Doing the work is tricky, and sometimes it's hard for us to have these transition points. And
yeah.
so, like, my wife and I sold out and went into missions work in 2011. We've had a lot of transitions, right?
Mm,
Every 6 months to 2.5 years, we've moved. God has moved us. We haven't moved just on our own,
mm,
but God has moved us. Even when we didn't want to move and we wanted to stay settled, we've moved. And we've learned to deal with these transition points.
mm,
And something I've noticed with a lot of people is they get stuck in these transition points sometimes, or we get stuck in friend circles. I'm not saying you're doing this. This is just a good point I want to bring up off of what you said. We even recently, it's been 14 months now already since we moved to Texas. And we were with a specific group where I was doing systems and automation coaching inside this group for Kingdom entrepreneurs.
mm,
And that group is part of what connected us to Texas. And in an event with that group is where we got the word to move to Texas. We moved to Texas, and that stuff starts to kind of fizzle.
mm,
And then enters Kingdom Warriors, and then enters Mighty Men. And
mm.
it's like within a few months of being here, everybody we knew had worked their way out.
Yeah.
And we're like, we've been with this group for over a year helping with this stuff. How did it all of a sudden just kind of like not feel like that's where we were supposed to be at this time? And it's not because we're ungrateful or try if we, but we could kind of beat that dead horse and try to stay where we're supposed to not be, right?
Mm,
Because it's not like the people are bad or anything else, but God brings things in for a time sometimes to get us where he wants us,
yeah.
right? And even with Kingdom Warriors, I came into that to help get things to a certain point. But
Mm,
it maybe or maybe not was going to be a 10-year thing or a 2 week thing, right? It was like, come in and do this thing. And so we did that thing. And then it was like, oh, and God's moving on to this next thing. Huh, interesting. Okay, so cool. And now here we are, right? And we have these things that are set up.
mm.
The hardest part, just like anything in life and business, is keeping your eyes focused on where you're going and why,
Yeah.
and trying to not stay tied up necessarily or holding yourself down to
Mm.
where you think you're supposed to be just because you came through something. Like I said, I'm not trying to push anybody on or off, but I've had a lot of these conversations over the years where specific friends of mine, awesome people, leading worship in the church for like 2 years. And then they were at the point where they were burned out, tired, and they stopped going to church altogether anywhere. Like they didn't want to go to any church. And I was like, what happened? They're like,
Mm.
well, we felt like, God had told us to leave the church, like our time was done and everything was good. But then we didn't want to leave because we didn't want to leave them hanging because they didn't have anybody. And so we stayed, and they
Yeah.
stayed for an extra year, and it burned them out to the point where they wouldn't go to any church.
Yeah.
And the fact that they tried to stay when God had released them and move on
Mm,
is what burned out the whole thing.
mm,
And now they're like not helping with anything. I'm like, so it's sometimes holding on to what got us where we're at will
yeah.
keep us from moving into anything God has for us. And it's so important that we focus on where God's taking us and how God's moving us through the process,
Mm,
that we're able to see that in our business. Because sometimes we lose it in our business.
mm.
It's easy for me when God goes, go and like fix houses from the tornadoes that went through. I'm like, sweet, it's mission stuff. I'm down. But then when God's like, hey, it's time to transition from this group of people to this group of people, both groups of people are doing kingdom, both groups of people, good people. I'm like, is this a shiny object or is
Yeah.
this a God thing? Right? Because like nothing necessary, there wasn't some tornado that needs fixed and there
Mm,
wasn't some blow up that fell apart.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
much
the
better.
hard parts are these little tweaks throughout our business as God leads us.
Mm,
And so keeping your eyes focused on him is the only way that we're able to actually ask those questions, wait for those answers, and be able to keep pushing through in our business, right? Sometimes when there's a downtime, like you were saying, in a particular group, it's like perfect time for you to work on other things,
mm,
um, and kind of leverage that time, right? And then
yeah.
reevaluate. We should always be reevaluating and looking at everything and going, is this the next level? Is this how I get to the next thing? But anyway, like I said, I'm sure you kind of know some of this already, but I've had this exact conversation so many times with people that kind of get hung up in where they're at
Mm.
and moving into that next phase. So, cool. So how are you going to work those groups that you said you got into? Last question, then we'll move on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to really dive into everything resource wise and also then just start adding value to the conversations. And it's delicate because I know that what is being offered there is pretty much what I want to do. But I think, like you said, just go in without any ulterior motives and let God bring the connections. The people who find me in there and vice versa will be without having to prove anything, I'm sure.
Yeah. I know we've talked about it before, but just because it's up now, I want to rehash it real fast. When you guys go into other groups, like I'm a fan of this.
Mm,
I mean, we did it in real estate for the longest time. You can either build your own community or leverage someone else's. And
mm,
sometimes we leverage someone else's in the beginning. Sometimes we leverage someone else's 5 years down the road. But it's always happening. And for those of you who think, because in the beginning, there's an imposter syndrome. In the beginning, there's oh, they're going to think I'm here to steal their stuff. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I was kind of brought into reality at one point. I was only a year and a half in,
mm,
not quite a year and a half, 2 years in. And I had a package or a program I put together that I wanted to sell because I had success with what I was doing and I wanted to sell it. And it was in real estate. And it was different, I thought, than what other real estate guys were teaching. And so I saw it as kind of a compliment. But at the same time, it was still competition, if you will, right? Buy my course or buy this real estate guru's course. Well, I actually had a good relationship and a conversation with a guy who was doing millions in real estate, had courses, coaching, everything. I had come into one of his 90-day challenges
mm,
and then flew out to Hawaii with like 30 investors and hung out with him. And then 6 months after that, I'm launching something of my own, right? And he
mm,
reached out to me, and me and him got on a Zoom call. And he was like, bro, when you get like this many sales of it to where you know it works, holler at me and we can work a deal and I'll send it out to my list. And he goes, when we do something like that, I'll split it with you 50-50. And I
mm,
asked him, I said, I'm obviously new to this, but why would you promote my course to your audience instead of selling your course to your audience? Because he'd been selling his course to his audience.
mm,
And, to me, I'm like, I was nervous. I'm like, this dude's crushing it. I'm just coming in. Why would he want to talk to me? Like, am I in trouble? His lawyers will probably,
yeah.
throw me under the bus quick if I do the wrong thing. And he's like, dude, we should partner up and split the profits. I was like, why would you promote this out? He goes, you'll find this when you find something that works. He goes, reach out to all the guys that are crushing it in the space because all of us promote each other's stuff.
Wow.
All of us do. He goes, because there's people in my audience that have been there for years, they'll never buy anything. And if I promote your thing, they might like you better than me and they buy it and I make 50% off of your thing and I don't have to service it. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, so it's a way for us to get money out of the people on our list that aren't buying anything
Mm-hmm.
or more money out of the people that just want more.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not a big deal at all. I'm like, he goes, everybody in the industry does this. And so
Mm-hmm.
for those of you who are like leveraging somebody else's audience, it's not a bad thing. The bad thing is if you think you're there to leverage their audience and you're not telling anybody and you're trying to be sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be sneaky. Reach out to the people that own the group and be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I
Yeah.
think it's amazing. I actually had this idea myself. I launched this thing. We're just getting started. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Like how's everything going for you? How can I serve you? How can I help you? Could I add value to your group for you? Could I do this? Could I do that? And if they have an internal problem, they'll be like, "No, screw you. Get out of my community," and they'll remove you from their group because now they
Mm.
think you're there to poach. And honestly, that would be a bad place for you to be at anyway if they have that attitude,
Yes.
right? So then it simply weeds it out fast.
Yeah.
But you might find out, like I did, that they go, "Hey, yes, I do need some help. How about instead of doing your deal, you bring that over here and we partner up and we do this thing and we
Mm.
push people to that because I don't do that." I've
Yeah.
had people do the same thing where I have a low ticket and they have a high ticket.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do masterminds. I want to sell this thing and then push people to you. And they're like, let's go because I don't want to do low ticket. There's
That's right.
so many things that'll happen when you
Mm-hmm.
guys start talking and just going, hey, how do we add value? So
Yeah.
I even had somebody, I think he's in the millions. He's making the millions now. He's not publicly saying it, but I know he's doing well for a while. I got a message last night asking me if I wanted to come speak at an event of his on Tuesday. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's like that's awesome. We kind of have the same clientele.
Mm.
Again, and it's just like I'm 6 years in
Mm.
to that systems and automation space, right? And so it can be leveraged at the beginning and
Mm-hmm.
it can be leveraged at 6 years in or 20 years in. The farther you go in, you're still going to work other people's audiences,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Right.
said, we met in Kingdom Warriors. There's people that will meet me at an event of someone else's event and become my customers. And it happens all the time. So like don't get the don't get the idea that if you're in somebody else's space that it's a bad thing.
Okay.
Just be like, how do I add value? How do I talk to these people? Tell them
Mm.
what's up, tell them what I do, what I
Yeah.
want to do, see how I can help them, how do I serve them, and how do I help them win with their thing. It will come back around. And then
Okay.
just consistently, because everybody talks a big game. Like, how can I help you? And then if nothing happens right away, most people drop off really quick.
Mm.
And so if you keep showing up and you keep like they leave you in your community, in their community, and you've reached out to them, you're like, how can I serve you? How can I help serve your community? And they don't respond, or they're like, I don't really know. But they leave you in your community, and the community starts asking questions, and all you do is answer people's questions. They're still going to see you answering people's questions in their group, and they're like, oh, she's hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. She is serving my community. I didn't even tell her to do that. Now she's like just really serving people and helping people. And you may have to ask again in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Hey, how can I serve you? Is there a
Yeah.
way we can partner up and do something together? I'd love to like help you just blow this thing out of the water because you'll get what you want when you help other people get what they want.
Yeah. That's great. Thank
So
you.
like keep this in mind when you guys are working the communities. It's not odd. It's not shady. It's just make your intentions known, add
Yes.
value, and like figure out ways to partner with people. We're literally in the middle of doing that with scalability right now so that we can take it to the next level. I've got a phone call at 3 with somebody who does not need anything from me, and I don't necessarily need anything from him. And I'm like, how do we blow this thing up together?
Mm.
And both of us are open to the conversation. So it's just interesting, no matter what business, what level you're at, don't think you know what the other person's thinking. Just have the conversations and just go with it and see what happens. That's where things will happen. It's cool.
That's good. Thank you.
Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So what's
Good.
up? I know we had a question in the group I didn't fully understand. Did you get that worked out?
Yeah, no, I haven't yet.
Yep, no.
So what it
Explain.
yeah, I haven't. So what it is, I have like I have my Uniquely You Life and then
Mhm.
slash like 3 day jumpstart. So it's like
Yeah.
my lead magnet. Okay. So the document that I originally created for that to go to, I have updated and improved it. So I'm
Okay.
wanting to add the new one on there, or
Okay.
I didn't know if I could add it or if I had to start over.
Okay. So perfect. Real quick before we move forward, tell people who you are and what you do. Kind of
Oh,
promote your business by telling us
all
who
right.
you are and what you do so that we kind of get some context what we're working on.
Okay. Well, I'm Kelly Chance, and I am the owner of Uniquely You Wellness Coaching, where I help busy women who are been on diets on and off, lost weight, gained weight, get off of that roller coaster and lose it in a way that God created for us to eat, I believe, just in our God-given boundaries and around your mindset. If you run to food for comfort or any kind of emotional eating, anything like that, just change your relationship with yourself, change your relationship with the Lord, and just bring Him into changing you from the inside out, being transformed by the renewal of your mind. That's what I do.
Good stuff. Okay. So we had a landing page where people could opt in and get a PDF. Is that right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And you're wanting to update the PDF.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So the way we typically set things up, which I think is probably the way you have it, when somebody opts in on the landing page, name, email, whatever, give me the PDF, it delivers the PDF in an email. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what you do is to make that happen, like let's look at that process real quick so that we understand the process and then it'll make sense how to update it.
Okay.
Um, so when somebody opts in, that triggers an automation. So inside your automation, it delivers the text message and the email with the link to get the PDF. Okay. The
Okay.
PDF itself is edited on your computer somewhere, saved on your computer, and then you upload that PDF to your media library in scalability. So if you guys are
Yes.
in scalability, you click on sites on the left side column, media at the top, and then that'll let you open your media library and you can upload photos, documents, videos, etc. So you would just update your PDF on your computer like normal, right? You just
Mhm.
open up in Word or whatever you use, you would update
Mhm.
it, resave it as a PDF on your computer, and then you're
Mhm.
going to go into your media library and scalability and just upload the new one.
Okay.
Okay. So when you upload the new PDF to your media library and scalability, you're going
Mhm.
to click on it just one time to where it highlights it in scalability in the media library. And
Mhm.
then up in the top right corner, you'll see that little chain link. And when you
Yes.
click on the little chain link, that gives you a link directly to that PDF in your media library.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Take that link and you go to the automation that delivers the
Okay.
PDF and you go into that email and you just change that link in that one email.
That was the piece I was missing.
There it is. So like
Yeah,
the
I just
process is, right? You build a funnel slash website, landing page, whatever, where you're capturing somebody's name. You talk all about the thing you're giving away, but create your PDF, your video, whatever it is, upload it to your media library, and then build an automation for when somebody opts in to deliver it via email. And inside the email, you just write your email, click here to get it, and then link that click here text with the link to the PDF in your media library.
okay.
And that's
Yep.
how you deliver it.
Okay. I had all of it except that last little piece about the automation. So,
Yep.
yep, I knew it was
Most of your
easy. I figured
changes,
it was probably easy.
most of your changes are going to be in automations. Like for any of
Okay.
you wanting to, if you have us build stuff for you, which I know a lot of people in here have, and a lot of people like watching the replays have, um, it's almost always automations. You're going to have a funnel or website, right? I talk about all this all the time in like the fast scaling quadrant: foundation, automation, systems, traffic. And so foundation is getting the landing page and the form in place, right? A website, a funnel page with an opt-in form. That's your foundation. And then your automation and systems is always in the automations, the workflows. For those of you who are like just getting started, workflows, automation inside of scalability, it's the same thing. So if you see workflow automation, that's where it's at. But it's pretty much always, everything's always delivered through automation somewhere. So you're literally going to be in funnels, forms, and automation. Everything will be in one of those three spots. Scalability will do so many things. You could definitely get lost in the weeds, but focus on funnel pages, forms, and automations, and then run all your contact and everything out of the contacts. And literally that's it.
Yeah.
Like if you got to master those 4 areas, you can pretty much run any business or any model you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with Jill on I need to set a time to go in there and work on that part of it because I do all of the other things. But I was thinking last night, I was like, I've got to set aside some time to just go play in there because, there are bits and pieces that I do understand. Even as you're explaining this, I get it because I've done it.
Yep.
So I'll know where to click, but there's so many things that I don't know, but I need to get in there and figure it out. So yeah.
Well, every business out there, I'm going to say it again, and this isn't just for you guys, because like I said, you guys have been around long enough, I say stuff on here for everybody who will watch the recording 6 months or a year from now as well. Because we're going to constantly have people signed up and watching things. So like every business you have, period. I always use funnel pages, funnels, right? Click on sites on the left. It always starts on funnels. So it's literally the first thing that pops up. It's easy. Click on sites, funnels pop up, create a new funnel. I don't create websites. Even if I'm creating websites with a bunch of buttons everywhere, I'm still going to do it in funnels because it's always sites, funnels just pop up. There it is. So it's always creating a funnel. You're always creating a form. Even if you're doing fancy, like long applications and everything else, it's a form and you're putting it on a funnel page. And then when somebody submits the form, or you use a payment where you sell your thing on that funnel page, and when somebody submits the payment, both of those just trigger automations. So then it's like if you work on funnels, forms, and then workflows/automations, you can literally build and run any business out there.
Yeah.
And then there's one video that's like how to manage your leads from day to day, which basically shows you how to text people, email people, and tag people. And like if you get those categories and you just spend the time in those spaces every day, you'll be able to run and scale any business out there. Because literally you hire staff, you're going to teach them those places. Here's where our funnel's built. Here's the form that's on that page. Here's the automation it triggers. And here's how you work the contacts from day to day once they buy or cancel or don't or whatever. And so like just spend time in those 4 places and you can crush any business out there.
Gotcha.
Everything else is rabbit trails. No.
Yeah. All
What,
right.
Jill?
Thanks, Erin.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You
I
too.
was going to ask from that, if I can, how useful do you see email Smartlists?
I don't use them, honestly. Like, find the things that work for you, right? Like some people use them, some people like them. I've actually, before we had scalability, I used different softwares and I never really did it.
Right.
We had different lists for different things. It just became a pain in the butt, honestly. So for me personally, what worked was just really learning tags.
Yeah.
So I don't create the smart list that actually has all the people on it. I just tag everybody with the same tag. And in my mind, I like go to the contacts, I search the one tag, pulls everybody up, I select them all, and I email or text that way. For me, that method just worked. And I think I've used this before with like, as an example, with me and Joel, my executive assistant. He actually prefers to do all the interactions with people through conversations. And I never do anything in conversations. Like we were sitting next to each other working on something. He pulled up conversations. I'm like, what's that? Like I wasn't even familiar with how it worked because I don't use it. But it probably drives him nuts the way I do everything in contacts. So find the one that you actually like, it clicks with kind of your mind and the way you work things, and then just stick with that one.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, I was looking for how to send one email to everyone that would have any valid interest in the one I was writing. I couldn't see how to tag everyone without going through and ticking each one that had that tag. Sorry, do you mind showing me? Because
Do
that's
you
why
mean like if they already had the tag or to add a tag?
if they already had the tag, let's say they were parents, okay?
Mhm.
If they had the
Yep.
parent tag, how how do I pull all those parent tags together in the email?
Okay. Yeah. Let me pull this up real
I just
quick.
couldn't see a way of doing it, and I ended up creating a smart list for that reason, which was something I didn't even know I could do until I looked for it.
I had to make sure I got an account here since we're playing with contacts. I got to make sure I had a fake account here with some contacts in it.
Mhm.
Inside your contacts here, if I want to write an email to everybody like this, like I said, demo account, fake people,
Yeah.
fake numbers and everything else. Um, you see off to the right here, there's some tags on some of these people. If I
Mm,
wanted to send an email just to the people that are, say, wholesalers, I would come right here in the quick search in the top right, click
mm.
wholesaler. It'll bring up everybody with a wholesaler tag, but then I can come over here on the left and click this box right at the top and it'll select everybody in that list.
Yeah.
Okay. Then this top bar right here, if I
Mm,
click on right here, if I go to email,
got it. Yeah.
I click email, it'll ask me if I have permission. Okay to proceed. Now
Yeah.
I can write one email and I can send it to everybody at once.
Yeah. And I don't know
Is
why
this
I
what you were
couldn't see.
talking about or something else?
No, that's exactly what I wasn't seeing.
Okay.
I was looking at my master list and I was trying to work out, having written the email, how do I make that email go to the right tags?
Gotcha. So did you write it in like an email template?
Yeah.
Okay. So right there, let's say I want to send it to just all these people. I can click that send an email. Okay to proceed right here at the top. See this?
Yeah.
From templates.
Yep.
If you click that, it'll show the templates that you have and you can select the template that you want and it'll use that one. It'll plug it in.
Okay.
And then you can do the from name, from email, and the subject and send it all out at once. So if you built it in a template, you just select the template you want right here. If you don't want to use the template, you can literally type it right here and add stuff in there.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to sit down, if I'm going to put it on my calendar and set an alarm for every Wednesday at noon to send out a mass email, like a marketing email, and I'm literally just going to sit down and figure it out, I'm going to pull up the list of everybody. I'm just going to select everybody, pull this up like this, and I'm going to write the email right here.
Mm.
Now, what I'm going to do here, I always start off, we'd say hi, and then I would use this custom value right here. And I would
Yeah.
go contact, first name, and whether I've selected 5 people or 10,000 people, it'll plug their first name in. And then I would just build it, add photos, do things to it here. And I would label it as like Freedom Friday announcement and send email or schedule it to go out, etc. And you can do
Yeah.
all that here.
Yeah.
And then since we're talking about this, same idea. If you want to push people into a workflow, like let's say you guys build a new automation of you sit down on a Saturday and you write 52 emails. And then you build them into an email automation where it sends an email, waits 7 days, sends an email, and you built the whole thing. And you're like, I got 1,800 contacts. I would like to put them in that so that they start that workflow. You can come in here, select everybody, and then right up here in this same line,
Mm.
you can add to automation, this little robot head looking guy.
Oh yeah.
And you click that, okay to proceed, and you can choose the workflow, the automation that you want to add them to, and it'll push everybody into it and it'll start them.
Yeah. Great.
So this is kind of managing your leads right in here. You can
Mm.
filter people with the tags, and then this bar right here is where you'll find like a lot of value because you can add tags to people, remove tags as
Yeah.
well.
Mm.
So
Great.
does
No,
that
that's
answer that question?
no, it did. Fine. Great. I'm muddling a little bit, but the odd thing is intuitive, but some things are still not. That one got me a bit. No,
Yeah.
that's great. Thank you. I'm going to
Every
try
once in a while,
with
every
the
once in a while we get hung up. No problem. Any other questions or anything for you?
No, thank you.
Cool. Well, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Just like Kelly got her question answered and then she was gone. Like I encourage you guys for these as well. You won't hurt my feelings ever because like I said, I always do these for future people as well. But Freedom Fridays, I want you guys focused on money-making tasks. I want you to win in your business. So never feel like you have to show up to these and hang around for an hour just so that you're here because they're going on. Like, I want you to connect with people. I want you to promote your businesses. I want you to win at your business. And so if you got questions, show up on Freedom Fridays. Let me help you straighten you out. If it's a tech question, I'll be like, hey, that's a tech question. If it's strategy, systems, or I can straighten you out like we just did with the contacts, I want to get that done for you. Feel free to jump in on these, ask your questions, and then take off and go back to the money-making tasks. I encourage it. I like people to win. So I never want to waste your time on these. I really appreciate you guys showing up, watching, either showing up live, watching the replays, whatever. I respect your time. I appreciate it. Time's something you can never get back. And so I promise to do my best to never waste it for you. But as always, see you back in here, 11:30 every Friday. Have an awesome weekend, everybody. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you.